All right, so let's take a turn. Let's go down this street here I got in my mind, and get in a little bit about integration. Okay, and specifically, I don't want to have a long conversation about what integration means and so on and so forth. But since I got you here and you're well versed and you've seen and held the space for many people over the years, I want to talk about what in the guidelines, the conclave guidelines, they call reactivations.
Hmm. Yeah. You want me to discuss reactivations? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, I think that whatever I'm going to say is somehow an opinion of mine. I don't, I'm not a neuroscientist. I don't know exactly what's going on. But I have formed my opinions, yes, after having seen and witnessed hundreds of experiences, which not everybody has reactivations. In my experience, I would say less than 50% of people actually have reactivations. I don't know if reactivations are due to a quantity of the substance that's been taken, or frequency of the substance that's been taken. I don't really know. I haven't noticed that myself. But I do have a framework in which I look at reactivations, and it's this is how I picture it. 5-MeO-DMT is apparently endogenous in the body. It's already there. It's a neurotransmitter, which I suppose means that it travels around the neural pathways of the body. And I'm imagining some beautiful Alex Gray painting of seeing all these networks of neural pathways. Cool. And I imagine when we ingest 5-MeO-DMT, which by the various means that you can do that, we're introducing a boost of what is already the body's already familiar with, and perhaps that's why it's not toxic. Or James Orrock talks about the levels of toxicity and how it's metabolized in the body extremely quickly. Apparently, there's no residue. You don't feel much residue except for that psycho emotional glow, or the opposite of glow. But it's gone. I imagine Pac-Man just gobbling up all of those molecules until they're all gone. And yet, there's this thing called reactivation. So a lot of people maybe liken that to flashbacks, or there must be still the residue or the remnants of the exogenous boost that was taken. And I'd like to think that that's actually not what's happening. It's not like there's still an excess quantity of the molecule in your body. The way that I frame it is that we have these neuro pathways, and by taking this boost, we are flushing the neural pathways, this system. I almost think of a city's sewer system, and a storm comes in, and all of the rain falls, and it gets channeled into the sewage system, and it flushes it all out. And so afterwards, it's cleaned up. There's no more crud. There's no more residue sticking to the walls. And so then the internal or endogenous molecule comes out to play after the storm. Like, whoa, what was that? Oh, the storm's over. Okay, let's go and see what happened. Wow, everything's cleaned up in here. This feels good. Yeah, there's this openness, and there's this fluidity almost in the body on a psychic level that we can experience again. And when is it experienced? Typically at night. Why at night? I would imagine because while we're sleeping, we are in the most surrendered position. We are at our most relaxed place. And really, surrender, in my view, is the name of the game when it comes to this medicine. The fullest expression will arrive at either your greatest surrender or a incredible submission to typically a large dose, excessively large dose. But as we come into this surrendered position, we're sleeping, all the conditions are there, where our mind is relaxed, and we can come into this reactivation of what the experience was initially when we ingested this boost of the molecule. And so to me, reactivations occur because there's an openness in our system. Is there any neuroscience background to anything that I'm saying? None. I don't know how else to explain it, but over the years, and I talk to people about reactivations. When are they happening? Typically at night. Okay. Are they happening again and again? Sometimes they are. Sometimes it's just once. Sometimes it's for months after. Sometimes it's for weeks. And like I said, for more than 50% of people, they're not experiencing reactivations. Is it correlate with the amount that they had? I haven't noticed that, because when I think of amount, I think, okay, the quantity of the substance can be measured, but the quantity of resistance or surrender in any one given person's body in that moment cannot be given a number. And so the impact of the experience is a combination of factors, one being probably the greatest mystery of all that we'll never grasp or need to. The reactivations, I think, are nothing to be concerned about. I see them as a normal process. They can be disturbing. They're going to screw up your sleep at night, maybe for days on end. This is the ongoing process of awakening, I would argue.
Interesting. So can you maybe characterize what a reactivation would feel like or seem like? Because what's running through my head, and I've had these experiences, and there have been times where, my interpretation of them is wondering about it being a pathological state, which I understand or in the guidelines, it sort of encourages not to pathologize these experiences. And I can totally understand that. When medical advice is needed, or like actual psychiatric intervention, that's maybe a different, much longer conversation. But for me, the experiences are sudden derealization or sudden depersonalization. Now, is that what you mean by reactivation, or are we talking like all of a sudden I'm in peak source consciousness. I am peak source consciousness all of a sudden. Or like characterize it for me.
Sure. The reactivation itself can be very similar to the moment when somebody actually took in the 5-MeO DMT. Personally, I've never experienced a full release in a reactivation, but I'd say I've come very close. What does that mean? That means that I am having the somatic and psychological effect of the 5-MeO DMT spontaneously in my sleep. And I'm kind of, I've got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. There is the I because I'm observing it, but there's also this depersonalized aspect that is very strong and almost dissociative. And then of course, when it's spontaneous and there's no plan, you don't know how long it's going on for. And that can be very destabilizing and concerning as the mind is wondering what the hell is going on. And as soon as it gets on that track and the resistance starts, well, then a reactivation can go from what many people consider a bonus into the realms of hell and darkness.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering too about like every time I go on theme park rides, roller coasters, which I haven't in a while because the last time I was on one, something shifted in my inner ear and it was the weirdest, most disorienting, sickening feeling, and I'd rather not ever have that happen again. But historically, I would get home that night and I'd lay down in bed and I wouldn't sleep because I was just on the roller coasters over and over again somatically for what I could tell as the rest of the evening as soon as I started falling asleep. So I'm thinking about something along that lines as like a sort of approachable metaphor, or
Mm.
you know, something akin to, except instead of it being roller coasters, it's 5-MeO DMT. Like, I know I'm not on the roller coaster. I'm lying in bed, and also I'm on the roller coaster.
Yes.